not everybody on the street has a chainsaw. You all have to cut down pieces of tree every once in a while after a storm or just because it's, gotten too big. So you go and you borrow a chainsaw. You don't need it forever. You just need it for a little while. That's where I think people that are really serious about AI right now and in that small to mid-market range that we kind of talked about, they need to go borrow the chainsaw if they're serious about it and start developing that muscle because they don't have the time and the bandwidth on staff.
I feel like that opening line for every one of them is, this changes everything.
What's going on here?
Hey, Jim.
How are you today?
I am doing good. We are, in the throes of, middle of summer, family and kids and doing all the things. And kids have got camp, which today is a Friday for us. So that means that it is the end of camp week, which means that there's going to be some type of program that we have to go to.
Well, that's always fun. Watching somebody else's kids. If it was only my kid, doing the program,
right.
I'd be all in. It's just I have to watch everybody else's kids too, and that takes a long time.
That's right.
Not that I don't like the kids. I like the kids.
It is. But, oh, you wrote a poem. Good. It's going to be just like Tennyson. It's going to be fine.
It is. It's going to be really good. I promise I won't fall asleep. So, we're getting ready to head out and fish with my dad for a week or so. So my kids are looking forward to that. So we're definitely in the middle of summer and still trying to make a lot of time for AI conversations. I'm having those all over town. So,
a lot of stuff happening this summer with AI, with a lot of the companies. They're releasing new versions. We've talked a little bit in the past few weeks about like some of the kind of government interventions and things that have been going on with the release of new models. And as these new models come out, I think there's a little bit of an arms race that we start seeing with these tools where they want people to use them. So, right, they kind of make it a little easier maybe for a week or two. Anthropic gave some extended credits to people, right, to be able to run longer. OpenAI similarly did something last week that was different, and I've heard different things about it, whether it was in response to some kind of incident they had or whatnot. But the 5-hour limit that many of us are used to with running our agent and having a usage window of burn, no more 5-hour limit.
I know, that's what I heard. And so what do you do at that point? What did you decide to do when they removed all the barriers?
Well, I had an idea, and this is one of those things that we'll talk about today, is the fact that like I saw a product that was kind of like an AI assistant that could kind of watch your screen and give you kind of like in the moment agentic nudges, and so that means that it's viewing the screen context. It's using some of the inbound accessibility hooks to kind of determine context and intent and try to, give you a, what is your next usable action, or, what does it see you doing? And I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting idea. I wonder if I could build that. You and I talked a little bit about, where are we going to find a project that's going to like make the AI grind away for, where people are talking 12 hours. 18 hours, right? And this was my project. And so I gave it to it, said, come up with a plan, multiple sprints. These are the features I want. These are the constraints I want you to follow. These are the, and then I kept it going. And it was a little bit like the first day or so, it was before the 5-hour limit was up. And so that was interesting because I had a reset. And so, they gave you a do-over button in Codex as well. I don't know if, does Claude Cowork do that every once in a while? Like give you like a magic reset button?
No, they haven't had that concept that I've seen.
it's an interesting kind of thing that Codex has. So I'm like, oh, I stayed up late one night. It's 2 a.m. I'm going to hit the reset button and keep it going. And then I didn't have to hit the reset button anymore. And it went for like 3 days.
Really?
Yeah. And, okay, now, like, truth time. What did I get for 3 days of compute?
Man, I don't know. What did you get for 3 days of compute? Did you get anything good?
This
is all about truth. We talk about practicality and what actually happens.
Right. What really happened? Did an app get built? Yes. Right. Is it running on my Mac? Is it Xcode? Does it have like like app controls and a window? And is it running? And part of this whole deal was if you're going to put a agent or something to view your own system, the idea was to keep it all local, right? So I'm running the Gemma 12B model locally on my computer, and so yeah, it's wired to it. Is it really fast? Is it really understanding intent? No, it's trying. I mean, like it definitely like sees my email and then tries to give me a coaching thing of like, oh, you could write this response back to this person. Do you want me to do it? It's not very smart. And it's not very fast. It's not, I'm like, oh, this would be better if I had something maybe running it faster. But you and I have talked about this. Fast and wrong is just as bad as slow and wrong.
It's just as wrong as slow and wrong. I mean, 100%. I would say this is the thing that is really apparent to me now. I mean, I don't know that I've spent 10,000 hours. I don't know about you, but spent a lot of time. There's my dog. But it is really clear that it still requires a lot of work and understanding the software, because it, when ChatGPT first came out, there was nothing. I mean, I don't even remember. You could make it a little bit customized. I think you had some instructions you could put in there, but overall, it was not very complicated. It was a little box, and you tapped in words and something came out, usually something ridiculous like a story for your kids or something like that. I remember that was like the biggest thing for like the first couple of months was, write something like Shakespeare. It was just kind of like hello world type of things before anybody knew what it was really, really capable of. But then they started adding all these bells and whistles, and the settings got deeper. And now when you open up ChatGPT, or I should say Codex or Claude, you really have to dig into the settings. Small example, just so we give a little bit of color to what I'm talking about. If you want to do skills or use skills in Claude, you actually need to, especially on a personal account, if you're on a Teams account or enterprise account, your administrators probably already turned them on for you. But if you're in a private account, you actually have to go in. There's a setting that allows you to build, create, use skills. And a lot of people don't, know about that, and it gets shut off. And then people are like, oh, this stinks. So that's just one little example, but there's a ton of settings in there, especially when you get into more advanced work, or if you want to do some things like what you're doing with apps, you really have to learn. There's a learning curve. And then to your point, when you create something, it's not always that good at first, and you have to iterate. I talked to somebody yesterday, we were building a skill, and the skill in like just doing the first part, like going through the process to show it what we were building towards. We're just trying to create a document that they churn out all the time. it screwed up like 15 times technically all along the way, and it's going to need better guidance in the future on how to accomplish that task quicker, smarter, faster. So the human had to be in the loop. The human had to do a lot of work. It wasn't, oh, I type something in and I have this beautiful everything works app.
No. And I think the other part of this is like, what I did the other day was a little bit of a thought experiment. There was no skin in the game really for it. It was just kind of like, right. I'm sitting on a tank of free gas. So, right. I'm like, I'm going to go on a road trip here. It doesn't matter where. And to those that might listen and be like, oh, like that's it. You're doing the thing that we're telling everybody that you shouldn't do. The part of the exercise was the journey aspect of it, right? I got to, work on a app, specifications. I got to use this, new model that ChatGPT had put out, their 5.6 with Soul. It has a little extra setting on it called Ultra on top of Max. And Ultra spins up subagents on its own. And so that was kind of interesting to watch the harness do the work, start assigning things to agents. It would name the agents over to the side and give them like little names, and then you could click on the agent and see what they were working on, and then see them reporting back to the orchestrator. There was, for me, there was a learning aspect to this to kind of watch how this played out, see how, what could I have done differently from a coaching perspective to make this behave differently. The fact that this wasn't a true product that, I had a lot of, skin in making it work. Did it work the way that I wanted to? Was it a good learning experience? Absolutely. Because seeing the tool work, knowing where I could have done better. And you and I have kind of talked about, if you're not realizing that, you kind of suck at it until you do it a little bit. That you need to get these reps in, and these new tools. Every one of us needs to get extra reps in to really extract the value out of these. Just a tool set, right? And then then we can actually talk about delivering value, right? I mean, and like moving to something that actually where we do have skin in the game, and it's something that we should be fixing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the people that have put in reps are going to be the ones that you want to lean on, like just switching the conversation for a second to companies. People that have put in the time and have the reps and are the best at AI, you've got to move those folks into the right place. We've kind of touched on that before. And, we've always talked about training, fluency, actual hands-on keyboard practice as being the basis for everything. If you really want to move towards, using these tools in your business,
right?
You can't really skip that part, or you have to hire for it. It was interesting. Uber's CEO, or I believe it was their CTO, pardon me, he mentioned that they have started to develop agentic pods. I thought it was...
Like Tide Pods?
No.
Are they tasty?
There's not a warning label for children on these. This is just a pod of people. And what they've done is they took their best engineers who were also they took the best engineers, according to them, at AI. So you got software developers, software engineers, and there's 5% of them that are extremely good at using AI to improve their work. Hey, you, however many people they had, you now all live in HR or marketing or finance. And so they moved them out for 2-week sprints, pretty much, to go. These are just really smart, accomplished folks. They go, they learn the workflow of, let's say, an HRIS process that takes somebody a long time to do, and they automate it with AI, thereby seeding AI into all these other places in the company. And I would imagine probably creating a few power users along the way, people that like their interest is piqued by the fact they've got this expert-ish person coming in and helping them make the company more efficient.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
That like I hadn't seen the article. I mean, so you're describing this thing, and to me, I've worked in manufacturing with companies, and there's a Toyota had this process that they called it the Kaizen Blitz. I think General Motors called it or had a version of it called Diagonal Slice, but and we had some name for it with Six Sigma, but you would cherry pick people from different walks of life within like the plant, right? You get an engineer, you'd get a maintenance person, you'd get a tooling guy, you'd get like a assembly line worker, and you'd put them in a little pod, and basically you'd give them like 72 hours and a sheriff's badge, right? Like and be like you can go. You do not have to go ask permission. Like, go find something to fix that is just a pain, and bureaucracy is holding us down. And they would go in and it was interesting, right? Because they would get the people to like, people with the idea, people with the know-how, people with the practical skills, and they do so. And the idea is that you'd have these like incremental little lifts, right? That would be maybe impossible because either it would never rise to the right level for somebody to authorize it at a high scale, or it would nobody would actually point it out because people have just gotten used to the fact that this process is kind of janky, and you got to pull the lever twice every time, whatever it is. And but it feels like it's an old management trick, like the Uber story, to like say, all right, well, we're just going to embed these engineers, give them a sheriff's badge, let them go do something for a week.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that's the best way to do it. But the companies we're talking about are huge. So yeah, I don't believe that most small businesses, let's say 100 to 250 million, and then mid-size 250 to 2 billion. I don't think they have in a lot of cases, the bandwidth on staff to go do these things, to really just say, oh, you don't have to do your job for 2 weeks. Go learn, teach, do in another department. I don't think that is practical. One of the things that we talked about the other day was, we had this, I had this analogy, whether it's good or bad, about, not everybody on the street has a chainsaw. Y'all have to cut down pieces of tree every once in a while after a storm, or just because it's, gotten too big. So you go and you borrow a chainsaw. You don't need it forever. You just need it for a little while. You go to Home Depot, you rent it, whatever. That's where I think people that are really serious about AI right now, and in that small to mid-market range that we kind of talked about, they need to go borrow the chainsaw if they're serious about it and start developing that muscle, because they don't have the time and the bandwidth on staff. But if they're serious, if they need to speed up the close from, let's say they have a 20-day close. We just talked to somebody recently which it's like tale as old as time. CFO walks in, there's a 20-day close. The mandate is get us to 5 or 7. Or 10 would be great. Cut it in half. That takes, you're going to have to go out and borrow a chainsaw. You need to go find a person who's already good, because you don't have, if you've got 3 people on your team in marketing, you just don't have the bandwidth to.
Right. And I think one of the things, though, right? I mean, like the pushback on that is, people thinking, like, if we stick with your chainsaw example, right? Like thinking that they need to go hire a landscaping company to come in and do that work, right? And who's got money for that, right? I mean, we got other bills to pay. And you're talking about walking down the street and finding which one of your neighbors nearby has got a chainsaw, and he'll let you borrow it, and maybe you owe him a bottle of bourbon after you're done.
Right. I mean, I think there's ways that you can find. I mean, you can find some people out there right now that would be willing to come in and teach you. I mean, if you're starting from 0 or even 25%, knowledge about AI is what I'm talking about. If you're starting from a really low point, it doesn't take a lot. You're going to get a ton of incremental value, even by, without hiring an entire Cap Gemini landscaping crew. You don't need all that. You could find some smaller consultants out there, or people that are just interested in it. Junior, I mean, you could hire somebody junior on staff. You don't even need to go, spend a ton of money. You could just find somebody who's extremely curious about it and bring them on and start seeding it into these different departments. Well,
and like you have, I mean, like, that's not just like advice, right? I mean, like you have that as a real example, right? And you've done that. You've had intentionality was part of that, to some degree.
Oh, 100%. You had to. We created a position. We had that position not only teach, but also embed themselves in these different departments. So yeah, we've done that in real life. It works. I've gotten a lot of feedback from folks that said, oh man, because I was intentional. They said, I really am glad that you're giving me these skills. Now, just so you know, I did tell everyone over and over again, hey, not a lot of companies are going to give you these skills. We're giving you these skills and teaching you these tools. This is really important for your career. So there was a little bit of advertising involved as well. I stayed very much on message. Here's why we're using this. We're going to get more efficient, but this is also helping you. This is also helping you. So I think explaining what's in it for the people is really important. That's a little bit of a tangent, but.
Well, I mean, you have to make it important to the people. You have to make it important within the organization. But the other thing, I think we've, maybe something that we've tried to shout, preach, whatever you want to say, is that like you actually have to go find a problem, right? I mean, like you have to know your business well enough to know, what are you measuring, where is the problem, and then try to, it's not that, AI or anything is just going to magically fix it. But we're talking here about having some tools that are pretty game changing. If you can articulate your problem, you can uncover ways to solve your problem that you probably haven't thought of.
Yeah. You need people to do the same thing that they've done forever, which is create a business case and lay out why it's better than all the other business cases. And then you have to have as unbiased of a group as you possibly can, sit down, look at all of them and say, all right, those are the ones we're going after. That's the key, especially if you're doing big things. I think with AI fluency and just that base, hey, how do we get people using it and comfortable with it? That's kind of table stakes at this point. It really is. If you're doing big projects, especially customer facing projects, you're exactly right. What is the problem we're trying to solve? Test it. The whole thing. I mean, there's nothing different about applying doing an AI project, especially if it's a big one.
I think what I've been trying to tell some folks is the beginning of a project, if you have the right mindset, is a lot faster, and you can get to a much more cohesive shape of what option A and option B potential solutions look like, you can get there a lot faster, right? Now the question is do you do something like I did as just a throwaway experiment of like, oh, but then I just tossed it at AI and said, see what you can do, right? I think the proof there was that it didn't do great. It did something, where I asked it to just solve the problem, go build it, no oversight. But instead, if we had taken more time because we had skin in the game to, well, what does this exactly look like? What is the exact one problem, two problems I'm trying to solve? I have a client that is in the home services industry, and I sent something to their supply chain guy the other day, which was kind of you've explained to me that you've got these three areas that you have identified. These are metrics that I want to influence, and these are where the problems are. And one of the things that I've been coaching folks, but also building out for folks, is kind of a robust discovery process that can be driven by a Claude or a Codex. Here's a big prompt that gives it enough context about your business and enough context about its task, which is to interview you, identify the boundaries of what you're trying to solve, ask you some hard questions about, where the costs and, benefits really are, really kind of pushing you to have a little ROI conversation. But to kind of sharpen I have this problem with, going from, I have this problem with three-way matching on from all the way back to the invoice and delivery to, no, I really have a problem specifically in this leg of the process. And there is a way to, that's the longest leg, and we have a way to maybe reduce it from 4 days to 2 days. But that idea of like, you could have me or another consultant come in and sit with you for multiple days, or you could invest, 45 minutes, right, into a deep conversational thing to get to a much tighter, problem set and solution options, and then go justify, let's go build that.
Yeah, 100%. I do think you can do it without a consultant. You and I have, to the point where we're now consulting people. I think sometimes it's like a personal trainer. You're not going to do the reps unless somebody's watching you and you've carved out time and you have accountability. So it just depends I think it depends on the person and, again, the bandwidth of the company. So you have to try to figure that out and how fast you want to go. You could certainly accelerate it if you bring, a resource in and help identify that one, not the whole thing, like you said, not the whole 48 problems, but the one problem, because, compartmentalizing all of this stuff is very helpful.
I think so. And just kind of getting to a structured answer, right? Where we take the, I feel and I think out of the equation, I guess, and turn it into, okay. Yeah. And these tools excel at that. And I think, like you said, you and I find ourselves in some of our engagements acting like that personal trainer, right? We're coaching them through the process. We're helping them build the muscle memory so that they can do it without potentially being watched the fourth or the fifth time. But the first four, right, we have to kind of coach and correct the form and, make sure they don't hurt themselves.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So I think homework for everyone would be, decide, where you want to, I think it's a strategic question. How fast do you want to move? Are you serious about, putting this into your workflows and, the way that you do business, really? And if you are, pick something that's broken, find one curious person or bring somebody in and write a business case around it, get some controls. I'm a finance guy, put some controls in place, get some governance going, light. But that governance for now can just be, okay, did you do a simple business case on a spreadsheet so that we understand what should happen and why we should invest this money? That's going to go over a lot better with the CFO and the CEO than just, hey, I need, what do you always say, 10 pounds of AI?
Of AI?
Yeah, I need 10 pounds of AI someplace. It's like, okay, yeah, let's just focus. I think that would be the homework. That's what I would say. If you're curious about AI or want to be the champion for that in your company, I would sit down, take the 40 minutes and get the business case done and show them what is possible.
Yeah. And I mean, this is where we plug a little bit of the work that we do, but that's where we help. I mean, we're helping folks do this and kind of get not just fluency and vocabulary, but get a couple of reps in. I think if you're curious and you see it in action, you're not indebted into a consultant driven world for forever. And I think we're both talking to our clients these days, really with this attitude of like, how do I get out of here as fast as possible? I really just want to help you be a better version of you, and then, and take this message somewhere else.
Exactly. Speaking of getting out of here as fast as possible.
Yeah. You've got to go.
I'm going to go talk to someone who wants to use AI to accelerate some of their workflows at a small business in the finance and accounting department. So this isn't, I just continue to get lots and lots of calls and inquiries about this very topic that we touched on. So I think it was good to cover it off.
Yeah, I think we're both seeing traction with this, and I think, folks can reach out to us and, find out if there's some ways that we can help you or point you in the right direction. Cause, it's been another episode with Veer and Jim.
That's right. We are the Functional Executives. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Please follow us, like, subscribe. I don't know, all the things that wherever you're listening to this, do all of that. And we're going to have a guest here in a few weeks. So looking forward to having our first guest on the podcast, because what we'd like to do is start talking to some business leaders that are using this at varying levels. Some to really, really great effect, and others, hopefully we get them to tell us some stories about, where they stubbed their toe and what didn't work, because I think that's really important with all the hype around this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, thank you, Veer. Appreciate you.
All right. You take care.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.